I'd say most people in Guatemala are like truly Guatemalans. Most of the people I taught were Guatemalans. The only like really interesting thing about Guatemala is that there's a really rich culture in different like Mayan groups or like Mayan groups of Mayan descent, you could say. So as you go to different areas, you can see the different, they speak lots of different languages. Like you go to this area and be like a completely different dialect in this language. And it's cool because the Book of Mormon now is being translated into a lot of these languages, and they're completely different. I remember I saw the Book of Mormon of a language called Quiche, and the Book of Mormon was about that thick, so about like Bible sized. And then there was another one called Cachiquel, which is like about that thick. But most of the people we taught were like really Guatemalans, and most of the people that live there are Guatemalans, but you will see like the difference of like people of European descent and then people whose families have been there since forever, since the Lamanites maybe. So in my mission, you don't see a lot of those cultural, those like Mayan groups, but you will see people that have moved from other areas. Most of them speak Spanish, but you will come across people every once in a while that don't speak Spanish. I remember in one of my areas we taught a guy, and the guy had learned Spanish because he had before only spoke a couple native dialects, and he had learned Spanish, but his wife that lived with him hadn't learned Spanish. In the capital, for the most part, even guys that come from these traditional Mayan groups won't wear the traditional clothes anymore. But something I really thought was cool about Guatemala is that even in the capital where these people aren't from and that's not where their culture group is, a lot of the times they'll still wear their traditional clothing. So Guatemalan clothing for women there's something called corte, which is like a skirt. And depending on where you're from, it's a little bit different, but it's kind of like usually like a plaid design of different colors or different shades. And so they'll wrap that around, and then there's a belt that they put on, and then they tuck a shirt in, which is called a huipil. And it's of different, there's like big flowing ones, and some of them are really elaborate, and they make them all by hand. So something I really respected about that is that a lot of people, a lot of women, even in the capital, would wear their traditional clothing, and they would keep their culture alive, even though they had moved from that area. And I'd say maybe sometimes there's a little bit of maybe racism between the native groups and other like people of maybe European descent or something amongst them. Not that much, but maybe there's a little bit there. As far as I've heard some judgment about different like characteristics or stereotypes about those people. And you'll see a lot of, in the capital, almost all the people that make tortillas, all the women that make tortillas on the street will be from those native groups, and they'll still wear their native traditional clothing.